might even reinforce with gifts. So I may say, oh, here's some flowers, here's some this, here's some that. Well, let's say I give you flowers and we go out Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So give you flowers on Friday. You go, oh, flowers, that's really nice, thank you. Saturday, here's more flowers. All right, flowers again, that's great. Sunday, flowers again, okay. But maybe I vary it up, which is good. So I give you flowers, then I may give you, I don't know, a gift card somewhere. Chocolate, she says, okay, or whatever you might like. Take you out to a really nice place, take you to a theater, a movie, a concert, some really nice things. Then I might give you a couple of diamonds, okay? Then I might give you a nice necklace. Then I might buy you a brand new Mercedes. Then I'll buy you a brand new Porsche. And you know, whether you think this is ridiculous or not, but if I keep showing up with diamonds each and every time, after a while you're going to go, oh, diamonds. I'll put them with the rest of them. Thank you. It's not a big thing after a while. Why? Because you begin to feel that, you know, it's just kind of usual. It's every day. Now, let's also talk about if you reinforce each and every time and then you don't reinforce, the person then begins to become what's called entitled. So like, well, where's my flowers? You bring me flowers each time. How come you didn't bring me flowers today? Okay, and that's not good either. Okay, a system of entitlement. Keep giving something to somebody over and over again, then they feel that they should be getting it all the time. They begin to feel entitled. And then reinforcement principles don't work. So what you're doing in a relationship, in the beginning, what? Everything is good, right? Going out, special times, good, 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 good. And then like all of us, and I'm not saying you use this on a logical basis and you think about it, but after a while, you know, it gets expensive to do all that, right? So you're going out, and then all of a sudden you start sliding into, well, let's stay home and watch a movie. Let's do a little Netflix. Let's not do anything. Let's go hang out somewhere. And the dates aren't so exciting, which is okay, right? Isn't that what we all do? I mean, after a while, it's not so exciting. Those of you who've been married for a lot of years, you know, the beginning parts of any relationship and marriage is, wow, it's great, particularly if you're continuously reinforcing. But then after a while, you know, well, we're married. And it's not as exciting. So what you have to do is go to a partial reinforcement schedule. Partial reinforcement. If you're married, every once in a while you need to do something to say, yeah, this is why we got married. Okay? Great stuff. It's okay. Oh, really good. It's okay. Oh, really good. And that keeps you what? Interested. Keeps you interested. So there are 4 different schedules of partial reinforcement. 2 on this and then 2 on the next slide. One is called fixed ratio, where you reinforce every 4 times the individual does something. And I'm making these numbers up. It could be every 5 times, 8 times, or 10 times. What they mean by ratio, fixed ratio, is responses. So the little rat goes up and he's hungry and he has to push a lever, okay, to get a little food pellet. Well, he goes up and he starts pushing. 1, 2, 3, 4, boom, here comes the food pellet. And he stops, eats it, then he goes, boom, 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 gets a food pellet. Boom, 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 gets a food pellet. Sooner or later, he realizes what schedule he's on. So when he gets hungry, he runs up and goes, doot, 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 4 times, gets his food pellet, then doesn't do anything else. Now, this form of schedule of reinforcement is good, but it's not as good as a variable. So an example of fixed ratio, and the best one I can come up with is something called piecework. Like if you were working for me and I said to you, every 8 quilts that you make, when you bring me 8 quilts, then you'll get paid. So if I want you to work all the time, that's not really a good schedule, because what you'll do is work, 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 do your 8, turn it in, get it done, get your money, and not do anything until you want money again. Then you do another 8. Some of you someday may have a great job. It's called being a consultant. Okay? And somebody may hire you to consult with a certain corporation and say to you, well, I need this new computer work done, and once you do it and finish it, we test it and it works, then I'll pay you $50,000 for it. So what happens there with consultants is they work sometimes 10, 12 hours at a time, working until they get it done, then they get paid, and then they don't work at all, right? Because they just made all their money. So their work schedule, okay, goes like go, 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 no work, no work, no work. Oh, need some money, work again. It's a good schedule, but it doesn't keep the individual working all the time. If you want them working all the time, you put them on what's called a variable ratio. On the average of, let's say on the average of 4 responses. So the little rat goes up to the lever and he pushes it 1, 2, 3, 4, gets a pellet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, now he gets a pellet. Then he pushes it again after 1, then 4, then 16, then 32, then 4, then 8. He never knows when he's going to get a pellet, so what the little rat will do is probably just stand there and just going doop, 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 just collecting pellets. And he works like all of the time. If anyone has ever gone to Vegas or Oklahoma or New Mexico or Louisiana, now that we have a lot of places that have legalized gambling, you can play slot machines. Okay? Slot machines work on variable ratio schedule of reinforcement. They want you playing, putting your money in those slot machines all the time. They don't want you to stop very much. So what do? You never know when you're going to get paid off, right? So the card goes in or the money goes in and you keep pushing the button, just like a little rat. You keep doing it over and over and over again until they hope you run out of money. Because you never know when you're going to get paid off. Never know when, so you keep doing it, doing it, doing it. Golf is on a variable ratio schedule of reinforcement, particularly if you only play on the weekends. Because what winds up happening is that you hit a bad shot, you hit a bad shot, you hit a bad shot, and then boom, you hit a good shot. You're like, oh yeah, all right, bad shot, oh, another good shot, another good shot, another good shot, bad, 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 good, good. You never know when you're going to hit a good shot, so what do? You keep playing and playing and playing and playing. Boom, hit a good shot. Look out, Tiger. I'm going to compete with you. I'm going to be great at this game. Not really, but I'll keep playing because I never, ever know when there's going to be something good happening. So when you put someone on a schedule of reinforcement, it's kind of like if you want to break up with somebody, and then you say to them, yeah, well, let's just be friends. I don't really want to be friends with you, but I'll just tell you, let's be friends. Okay, so you still see them. You go out, and they're going like, well, maybe this will get better. You don't see them for a while, then you grant them permission to go out with you again. And so they're like a little trained rat just going, oh, maybe it'll be better. Maybe things will get better. Because you have them on a schedule of reinforcement to keep seeing you. Rather than saying, no. That's cold, isn't it? But, I mean, otherwise they keep coming around thinking maybe things are going to get better, maybe things are going to get better. Tennis is also on a variable ratio schedule of reinforcement. Thinking about keeping somebody in a bad relationship yet? What kind of schedules would you use? Interval, these two are about interval, where fixed ratio was all about responses. The organism does something, a response. This is more about timing. Timing. Seconds, minutes, hours, days, weeks. Interval means timing. You might put somebody on a fixed interval schedule of reinforcement, which would be every 10 seconds, the little rat gets some food. So the rat runs up to the lever, and every 10 seconds, as he's pushing it, he gets food. Every 10 seconds, every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks, okay? I guess I have you on a fixed interval schedule of reinforcement in terms of your testing, because we have a test about every 3 or 4 weeks. Let's just call it every 4 weeks. Now, if I wanted you to study every single day, would I put you on a fixed interval schedule? No. Good, I'm glad a lot of you say no. Because what happens? Well, just what happens now. After you take your test tomorrow, Wednesday, Wednesday, what happens is that you stop studying, right? Oh, next test, not for a while. You don't read anything whatsoever until the next test comes up. So your behavior is like study, 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 no study, no study, no study, no study. Whoa, test's coming up, study. If I wanted you to study every night, I wouldn't put you on a fixed interval. I'd put you on a variable interval, right? On the average of 10 seconds, or on the average of every week, on the average of every other class, I'd have a pop quiz. because then, or pop test, okay? You never know when you're going to have a test. So if you're a dedicated student, what happens is that you say, all right, better study because I never know when I have a test. Study every night because you never know when you have a test. And you keep working on it that way. That's called a variable interval, every 10 seconds, every 2 minutes, every 10 minutes. Fishing is an example of a variable interval schedule of reinforcement, right? Sitting there, waiting for a fish to come along, and boom, one comes along, great. Then one comes along in 10 minutes or 20 minutes or 2 days or something like that. And you keep fishing because you never know when a fish is going to show up. And some of you go on fishing trips and you fish for 3 days and never get a bite, but you still sit there because you never know when you might get a bite. All right, so there are 4 different partial reinforcement schedules. All right, let's do relationships. All right, so we're going out. So in the beginning, it's what? Great, 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 great. So I reinforce that I'm a good guy, we have a good relationship, things are going well, because I'm reinforcing all the time. Then what I'm going to do is pull back a little bit and put you on. By the way, I don't do this to my wife or anybody else consciously. I don't say, well, I got to run a partial schedule of reinforcement. So, but what winds up happening is that this just happens normally. And if you care about somebody, then you say, God, we're kind of drifting apart. What do we need to do? Well, we need to be what? Give more attention to the person. But if the organism is going along saying good, 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 not so good, oh, it's good, 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 oh, it's good, 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 not so good, not so good, oh, good. They never know when things are going to get better, so they hang in there. So partial reinforcement is this. Things are going well, then we just kind of hang out, we watch videos, we may just get a burger at McDonald's, okay? And then it's kind of like, hey, let's go out this Saturday night. I don't know, let's go special. Why are we going special? Because I care about you, that's all. Okay, and we do something special. Oh, this is really good, this is great. Not so good, okay, okay, okay. Oh, something good again. So you never know when things are going to get better, and it keeps things exciting and new for you. Gift giving. Don't ever forget what? Birthdays, holidays, Valentine's Day, okay? You don't do that. Those are the givens, right? You got to do those. But the gifts that really keep somebody interested in you are the surprise gifts. Flowers. Why? Just because you're you. Love you. That real surprise. Oh, wow. Here's a brand new Lexus. Oh, wow. But, right? I mean, aren't those exciting when you do something new and different, and it's you just don't know what's happening. It keeps you into the relationship. Bad relationship. You ready? So things in the beginning have to be good. You don't go out with somebody with 4 straight dates are bad. I mean, you go, forget about you. So in the beginning, everything is good, 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 good. Then it's not so good, not so good, not so good. Oh, good, not so good, not so good. Good, 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 good. This is great. Not so good, not so good, not so good. Matter of fact, he goes out and says to you, hey, I'm staying out. Why don't you go home? Okay, and I'll get a ride home. You won't go home. And then 2 days later, he comes home. And you say, well, where were you? He says, I did some different things, but I really love you. Really do. Tell you, let's go out. Let me do something special for you. I'm glad you're saying that. But let's do something special. Now, she's saying, no, I wouldn't do that. Okay? This happens a lot. Okay? This happens in abusive relationships where the abuse may be verbal or maybe be physical. Right? Great, 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 great. Not so good, not so good. Boom. And then some type of emotional or physical abuse that's there. And then all of a sudden the person says, God, I'm so sorry. I don't believe I did that. It's not like me. I want to make it up to you. And they're good, 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 good. Not so good, not so good. Abusive. Oh, good, 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 good. It's just like a trained animal that's there. Okay, things are bad, but I'm going to stay in the relationship because when things are good, they're really good. And you have a friend of yours come into town, and your friend says, why do you keep going out with him all the time? I mean, look what he does. He treats you pretty critically. He's always criticizing you, making you wear things that he wants you to wear, and you're not comfortable in them. Isn't this ridiculous? Oh, yeah, but you don't understand him. What do you mean I don't understand him? I understand he's not treating you well. But he doesn't always treat me that way. When things are good, they're really good. Yeah, but how can you stand that? Well, but you don't understand. You're jealous. No. because you stay in the relationship, because when things are good, they're really good. So you just hope that it's going to happen again, but you never know when it's going to be good. It could be tomorrow. It could be the next day. It could be 10 days from now. Some of your jobs are this way as well. You get a job, they're great. Oh, this is a great job. Then things aren't going so well. Then all of a sudden your boss says to you, could you work a couple extra hours this week? Like, oh, I don't want to work extra hours. I really need you. All right, so you work 5 hours more, 10 hours the next week, 6 hours the next week, not getting paid. And you're kind of like, oh, I don't know about this. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, your boss says, hey, you know what? Take Friday off. Just take it off. Okay? You don't have to come in whatsoever. Just take it off. Oh, you really? Really? I mean, you've been working hard. Just take off Friday. Oh, okay. That's surprise, you got a day, you got a vacation day. Or how about, don't tell the IRS, but here's $100, cash. Don't tell anybody, you got it, great. You've been working hard, okay. 5 hours more, 10 hours more, 5 hours more, here's $100. 6 hours more, 7 hours more, here's 8 hours off. If you start adding it up, by the way, okay, you're putting in a lot more overtime than you're getting back out again. But what winds up happening, if you have these surprises, here's $100, take the day off, they seem much more emotionally intense and exciting than getting paid for overtime that's there. Now, I know some of you sitting here say, I wouldn't do that, because we're being logical and rational right now, right? But if you get caught up with the emotion of this stuff and caught up in the emotion of relationships, you get carried away and you get manipulated. And it happens very, very easily. How do you stop this from happening? By the way, don't go home and get divorced or quit your job today, all right? But you might want to at least try to figure out, is this happening to you? So you might want to use something very logical and rational. You might want to make a chart, okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being just an incredible day with that person or on that job. 1 being damn abusive, physical abuse, verbal abuse. So what kind of day was today? A 2, a 5, a 7, or 8? And then chart it for about 2 or 3 months. Just see what your chart is. Figure out what your average is. If your average is 4.3, I don't know, 10 is great, 5 is okay, and you're getting 4.2, do you want to stay in that job or that relationship? To me, that sounds kind of low. We're not just talking about one day, we're talking about a couple of months here. Okay? If it's an 8, well, I'd stay at an 8. 8 is pretty good. But if I see that I'm getting this pattern of 8, 8, 9s, 8, 9s, 10s, 7, 6s, 1s, 2s, 2s, 3s, 4s, 8s, 7s, 6s, 3s, 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 1, 1, 1, oh, 9, 9, 9. And I see this pattern developing, then I might say, wow, I wonder if I'm on a variable interval schedule of reinforcement. Okay? Or a variable ratio schedule of reinforcement that's here. And start thinking about this. Otherwise, we get carried away and we don't realize that we're in these bad relationships or bad jobs. So got you thinking? Okay, because it's not too difficult to do. And on a positive side, if you are in a relationship, okay, you do need to do the variable schedules of reinforcement. You need to come home every time and say, you know what? We need to just do something for us. If you're married and you have 3 kids, it's like, let's get the babysitter. Let's just remember why we got married, okay, and go do things to put excitement in your relationship. Otherwise, it gets too boring. And we don't want our spouses, okay, to go look for excitement someplace else. All right, so that's a variable schedules of reinforcement. You're going to all go home and do that? No, okay. Well, you got to at least think about it, right? I hope you're not going to do this to manipulate somebody. I hope you're not sitting here right now and go, I know what I can do to keep her in this relationship or him. I'll put him on a variable schedule. Got them. No, you don't do this. You do this, what, to make the relationship better, because sometimes relationships get kind of mundane. You still with me? Well, they do. Can you imagine being married to the same person for 35 years? Say yes. Okay. I mean, that's not, the excitement goes out. After a while, so you got to put it back in. Schedules of reinforcement. All right, let me get your opinion, but I'm going to give you the answer because there is one answer to this. The relationship between children and television has grown very controversial. especially when tragedies such as the shooting in Columbine, Connecticut, Virginia, just goes on and on, occurs. What do you believe is the relationship between television and violence? Now, we could take out television and put down just media, right? Video games, any type of games, movies, games, television, and violence. Watching violent television does not make you more violent. Watching violent television might make you fractionally more violent. Watching violent television makes you more prone to violence, or watching violent television will definitely make you more violent. What do you think? So we're looking for what we covered in the first chapter, a correlation, right, between watching television and violence that's there. So everybody have a guess? Okay, so what we have is 65% of you, 5% of you indicate watching violent television makes you more prone to violence. And that's true. Watching violent television makes you more prone. I can't say it will definitely make you more violent, but more prone to it, because there are other variables that are there. The classic study done with this is called the Bandura studies. And in the Bandura studies, which have been going on for about 30 years now, what Bandura originally did is that he showed a television show, made up his own little video, of a man getting frustrated, okay? And as he got frustrated, he walked into this little children's room, and there was a Bobo the Clown that was there. One of those big blow-up Bobo the Clowns, that when you hit them, okay, they went down like this and popped back up again. That was about the size of my height, that's the way. And this man came in, got frustrated, and started whacking it. Then what they would do is bring children in. Some children watched the man hit it. Other people watched the man get frustrated and just grab Bobo and go, "Ooh, Bobo," like that. And they wanted to see what the children would do. They brought the children in. They frustrated the children. The children who watched the Bobo getting beat up by the man would do what they watched, because modeling is very powerful. To make this study even more interesting, what Bandura did was take the most popular Saturday morning cartoons from the 1960s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and whatever, because this is still going on now, the ones that they considered to be very violent, and then some real mellow ones. So, you ever watch Mr. Rogers when you were younger? I mean, most of you are still old enough that Mr. Rogers was still around then. I think did he die recently? Yeah, I think so. But, I mean, Mr. Rogers, like, "Oh, hello, boys and girls. I want to let you know you're all very special. Things are great." Real mellow type of guy. And then what some of you grew up watching, maybe Power Rangers or something like that. Or there's one cartoon with Wile E. Coyote and the Roadrunner cartoons, right? He's always getting blown up and shot and getting hit in the head and stuff like that. They're kind of violent. We're not talking about any video games just yet, although they're starting to do that research now on some of the video games where you're actually blowing people's heads off and stuff. Okay, so they're starting to do that now. But he just wanted to do something common for Saturday morning cartoons that most kids would watch. So he would show the violent ones and the passive ones, bring the kids in again, frustrate them, and the children who watched the violent ones would start hitting Bobo the Clown. He would also have what's called fungi bats around, these little foam rubber bats, and he'd pick them up, and the kids would get frustrated and pick up the bats and whack Bobo the Clown if they watched the violent television. Okay? And the children who watched Mr. Rogers would come down and go and push Bobo like that, or hold on to him and go, "Bobo, me mad," okay, and stop that way. Pretty powerful stuff just after watching 30-minute cartoons in the morning, that the children would be more prone. Now, think about your own life. Some of you play all those video games, don't you? You love it. Blew that guy's head off. Isn't that cool? Look at that. Blood starting out all over the place. And you like watching, what, violent movies, don't you? I mean, they're fun to watch. There are always all those comic book movies that are out nowadays. Always somebody's getting killed, things being blown up. Those are pretty violent. Do you turn out to be a violent person? If I frustrated you, would you hit me in the nose? Please don't. Okay? Or stab somebody? No, you don't. So there must be what other variables? We do know that watching violent programs does make someone more prone to being violent. That is a correlation. That research is there. No questions asked. Okay? You can debate that, but it's pretty solid. But what makes someone more violent? Well, there's another study called the Iran studies. It's E-R-O-N, not after the country, but after the name of the researcher who did this study in Chicago, okay, in the city of Chicago. They're also called the Chicago Circle Studies. And this was a longitudinal study. So they took children at young ages, okay, and then followed them up. The study's still going on. Followed them up. They're now in their 40s now, just to see what was going on. And he had 3 variables. He wanted to know what types of programs the children were watching and how many hours they would watch them, okay, violent or not violent. 2, he went into the courts and tried to figure out, and he did a pretty good job of this, if there was violence in the home, where somebody arrested in the home for violent crimes, domestic violence in particular. Got those research. And then he figured out where people would live, and he got studies that showed whether or not you lived in a violent neighborhood or not, based on crime rates. So he had 3 variables. And then he followed these children just to see what their behaviors would be. Would they become violent individuals? And what he found out, by the time these people hit adolescent years, especially the adolescent year in their 20 years, the children who had all 3 variables, who had ands with the variables, they watched violent television, and there was domestic violence, and they came from violent neighborhoods, they had a high correlation with them, okay, performing some type of violent acts, juvenile delinquency, some type of violent crimes, particularly in their adolescence, and then in their 20s, and as they got older, that diminished. 1, because they were in prison, but 2, even when they came out, okay, it diminished. Or even while in prison, it could have been pretty violent too. Children who had 2 out of 3 didn't have as much predictability. 1 out of 3 was a little less. And then they looked at each one of those individual variables to see what the correlational rates were. The one that had the highest correlation out of the 3 independent variables that were there, okay, was the one where you grew up with domestic violence, okay, in the home. That made you more prone. 2nd, the neighborhood. And number 3 was violent television. Okay, it was number 3. But still was a correlation. What we're talking about here is something called modeling. And it's a form of condition. The child watches you do things. And as you do things, they do things. Modeling. Do as I do, not as I say. Now, what parent says that? Most parents say, what? Do as I say, not as I do. But the children don't do that. They do what you do. Okay? Modeling is especially powerful in people's lives. Right? What you saw, by the way, your parenting abilities will probably be pretty close to what your parents did, because you grew up with them for 16 to 18 years, okay, and you watch them, you'll probably do something similar. Whether you like that or not, you probably will. That's how powerful modeling is. Now, going back to the Iran studies, what they also said was we did find children who had ands between all those variables, and they didn't become violent in any way and commit crimes. So they went back and did in-depth interviews with these people, and they said, well, what's going on? And what they found, they had different models. For most of them, it was going to church, and they had different models within the church. Maybe they had a teacher, an athletic ability, somebody who modeled them, different behaviors. That's why Big Brother, Big Sister programs can be very influential in children's lives. Modeling is very, very powerful. I told you that story once about my children, how they were walking behind me one time, right? And I have a tendency to walk like this. Well, they were doing the same thing behind me. What you see is what you do. What you see is what you do. And it gets caught up into your brain and your patterns that are there. Modeling, very powerful. You don't want to do what? Be a parent like your parent? Well, right now you think about that. And if your parent went, shut up, and slapped you like that pretty quickly, you're going to be prone to do that as well, unless you intervene right now and use what? Your frontal lobes, and say to yourself, I'm not going to be like my parent. But a habit is so strong, right? It's a habit. It's so strong, you may do this, and you need to be able to go, no, and grab that hand. But you'll have a tendency to do that, unless you break the habit first cognitively by becoming aware of it. How do we break habits? By cognitively becoming aware of it, then reversing the reinforcements that are there. Media, television, video games, all have an effect on children. Children are extremely impressionable. Okay? So when they watch all of this, what winds up happening is that they do what they do. They do what they do. Those of you who are athletes, okay, I used to play a lot of competitive tennis. And after I'd watch a tennis match, and I've went out and played right away, boy, I played well. Because I got 3 hours of watching somebody hit really good ground strokes or overheads or whatever else. And it got set in my mind, and I'd go out and play, and boy, I used to play really well. Because I watched it over and over and over again. Can you break a habit? Yes, you can. But habits get awful strong to break. It's very difficult for us to break habits because we get into consistent behaviors that are there. And habits become what? Normal to us. And then we look for rewards. I am at your command. Half the things you do might just as well be turned over to me, for I can do them quickly, correctly, and profitably. I am easily managed. Just be firm with me. Those who are great, I have made great. Those who are failures, I have made them failures. I am not a machine, though I work with the precision of a machine and the intelligence of a person. You can run me for profit, or you can run me for ruin. Show me how you want it done, educate me, train me, lead me, reward me, and I will then do it automatically. I am your servant. Who am I? I'm a habit. A flat-out habit. All right? And you've been spending years developing certain habits, and they're hard to break. As soon as you try to change a habit, your brain, body, psychologically becomes uncomfortable with that. You don't like it. It feels weird. It feels strange. This is just a weird thought here. I recently got an electric toothbrush, and you're supposed to just go like this. Just move it around. I'm not used to that. So I take this electric toothbrush like, I really should. I mean, that's worse on my enamel in that way. But as soon as I get up, I do that. And I go, no, stop, slow down. And then I stop thinking, and then right away, because this is normal. I got a brain pathway there that says this is why you're supposed to do it. So if I'm not conscious of it, I fall back into a habit. So they're hard to break. You have to be conscious, and you have to be able to do it over and over again. Those of you who have poor study habits, okay, you're not going to go home and change them today. You have to be conscious of it and try to change them slow and gradually. Slow and gradually. Any habit that you have is so wired into your brain, biologically, psychologically, okay, that they're difficult to break. But you can do them. And the first step is just staying aware. Excellence is not an act, it's a habit. Way back in Aristotle said that. All right, I'm done for that chapter. You have all the material for your test. So let's just go over a couple of review questions for your test. A phobia can often be interpreted as a what? So look through your notes so you can get some good memories. Phobia can often be interpreted as a what? A rational fear based on realistic dangers? A conditioned emotional response? Fear shaped by operant conditioning in childhood? Or a conscious attempt to act frightened in order to gain attention? Which one is it? Got to think this one through, because if you do this quickly and you haven't put this into memory, there's a lot of little tricks in this one that you may go wrong with. There's a lot of what's called distractors in this. Once again, I'm trying to teach you to take multiple choice questions, and sometimes you hit a multiple choice question and you don't realize what the distractors are in this, and you make quick decisions. You need to think it through. Just like our habits sometimes are too unconscious. Good. Talk it over with somebody. Maybe somebody can teach you what the right answer is. All right, we got this? All right, well, let's make your selection. Everybody make a selection. Once, twice, 3 times. Got it? What do we have here? 77% of you say it's a conditioned emotional response, and you're correct. Okay, right off of one of those slides that I gave you. What I said was a phobia can be interpreted as a conditioned emotional response. Is it a rational fear? No, it's irrational. When you think about it, it's irrational. 3, fear shaped by operant conditioning? No, it's shaped by classical conditioning. That's why I said you have to watch out for distractors that are on there. Rational would be one, operant would have been the other one, and sometimes you jump too quickly at it. Okay, it's a classically conditioned response based on conditioned emotional responses. Get this one right if it's on your test. How about this one? When a mother praises her child for behaving properly in the grocery store, she is what? Being permissive, acting out of fear that her child will become disruptive, using response contingent reinforcement, or teaching the child nothing? What do you think it is? Once again, positive reinforcement works better, like what Sheldon was doing to Penny. Okay? Now that was extreme, right? Sooner or later she'd probably figure that out, but that happens, especially with children. You just came back from the grocery store, you got the little child in the cart there with you. God, you were so good today. Okay, you were so good, you did so well. We went around together, you didn't scream or yell like you did last time. This is very good, you did that very, very well. Here's a piece of chocolate. Okay, or here's this, here's that. You're positively reinforcing. And then maybe ignoring the negative behavior. Or you can do like Sheldon does, bring a water bottle with you and squirt the child. No. You do that with dogs, don't you, or cats? Husbands, boyfriends? All right, looks like 62. Looks like most of you got this one, so let's put in your final selection. All right. %, yeah. Now you may not even knew what contingent meant, right? But using response that's contingent, right? The reinforcement is contingent upon what the response is. So the child does something good, okay, then you reinforce the good part. Again, positive reinforcement works. You all did such a good job today. You're so wonderful. Here's a piece of chocolate, right? All right, that's the end of that chapter, so I'm running.